Peaceful parenting keeps in mind the needs of your children, both physical, spiritual, emotional, and psychological. So this is the part where I give you some information so that you don't feel daunted by not knowing what to do. Most of the time when you are addressing kids' issues, it's something you've thought about in advance. What I like to tell people is if you'd like to practice a more peaceful, playful parenting, try to come up with a script for yourself in advance for certain situations that you know come up a lot, and stick to your script in that moment. And that helps you not give in to automatic feelings or automatic thoughts in a way that you might regret later. So I speak mostly from the viewpoint of attachment. I am an attachment therapist, so what that means is I speak from, we have a little subsect of psychology where we talk about attachment, and we think that everything is based on attachment, which I believe it is. But I'm also going to be speaking from a behavioral platform, which is a more traditional psychology viewpoint, which essentially says the behaviors you reward or incentivize will be repeated. The behaviors you punish will decrease. So that's if you want to say, the very basic of behavioralism. Also, behaviors that are done over and over and over and over and over again become automatic. So if you want to put, that's a very nutshell. If there's any behavioralists in here, I'm so sorry. That diminishes, I think, anyway, I'm not trying to insult any psychological viewpoints here, but I do pull from behaviorism. Most of what I do when I give advice as a parent to parents or as a psychologist to parents is from attachment viewpoint. Why you need to know that? Because some of you are not going to do well with an attachment viewpoint and need something else. And if that's you, that's totally fine. If my stuff doesn't work for you, it's just like the saints. Just move on to something that does. Google it, go to the library, get a parenting book. If you read the first few pages and you're like, this is poppycock, then put it away. You don't need to do it. If it really resonates with you, like, wow, I could do this. This sounds good. Check to make sure that it is theologically sound, because there is some parenting stuff out there that's not. But just check to make sure you can bring it to, priest. You can email me. I'll give you my email. I will read it for you, and I will tell you if it's poppycock. So let me just explain what attachment is. Attachment in a nutshell is this. Human beings, we've discovered in psychology, but really humans have known this for thousands of years. Human beings are designed, programmed to attach to another human being when they come out of the womb. Like when they come out of the oven, they're probably already attaching before they ever come out of the oven. The attachment, the person that they attach to is called an attachment figure in the literature, but I'm going to call it a safe person. You attach to a safe person. What does that mean? And this is not just for kids. This is for anybody here who doesn't have kids or is not interested in more parenting advice. This is everybody. We attach from cradle to the grave. A couple of decades ago, psychologists who were studying this thought we outgrew this need to attach to someone. I'll talk to you in a minute what that means, but turns out we need a safe person our whole lives. It's almost like we were designed to relate to other people. So what a safe person is this. They are both a safe, you have a little diagram, I think it's the second page in your little packet. It's called the circle of security, but it's kind of a graphic of this. You need someone who is both a safe refuge and a secure base. What a safe refuge is it is somebody that you can go to for comfort, protection, and help understanding and organizing your feelings. So an example of this is, let's say little Billy, who's a toddler, is running along the sidewalk and falls and scrapes his knee. What little Billy needs in that moment is for mom or dad to come over and say, oh, you poor thing, I see that you are crying. It doesn't have to be said out loud, but I see that you are crying. I see that you are hurting. This is, you scraped your knee. So you explain what's going on, because the baby doesn't know. For little babies, they just get hurt and they're like, this thing is happening to me. It really feels bad. I don't like it. Cry. That's their programming. And what the crying does is it's designed to bring their safe person close. So this is a survival gift. If you think David and Goliath times, if your baby is left out in the wilderness and nobody comes, what's going to happen to that baby? You can say it. It's going to die. Like that lion that went up against David is going to get a little snack. And the way that God designed babies who are helpless and defenseless for good reason. We can talk about later, I think, why God made babies helpless and defenseless. I think it's so that we know deep down that we really do need him. But they're helpless and defenseless. What can they do against a lion? I'll tell you what they can do. They can scream bloody murder, and mom or dad will come and either snatch them away to safety or kill this lion, right? That's what babies can do. It is a gift to call for your safe person. And for little tiny babies, all they've got is their cry. I hear this from dads a lot, that dads don't enjoy the baby phase because it's really hard to not know what's wrong when the baby's crying. Is it a diaper? Are they hungry? What can I do? A lot of guys are trained in our society to be fixers and to fix the problem. They just don't know what the problem is. But unfortunately, that's all babies got. For an itchy back, I'm hungry, I'm cold, I'm tired, I don't feel good, I just want to be held. It's all the same. It's just cry for little babies. As they get older, like little Billy who fell on the sidewalk, they have an increased repertoire of what we call proximity-seeking behaviors. So they can walk to mom and dad. That once they start crawling, they can crawl to mom and dad. They can reach, do uppy, pick me up. They can cry, they can sniffle, they can pout. They have much more reserves, if you will, to get some help. But as a baby, all they've got is crying for a little while there. And the safe person tells them what's going on. Usually most of us do this by instinct. Oh, you're sad. Oh, you're crying. We give them words for what's happening. And even if little babies don't understand the words, just the fact that someone's there, they know what's going on, they're not overwhelmed by this. What happens over time is that the baby learns this is not an overwhelming situation like it feels like, because this person over here is not overwhelmed. They know what to do. I can go to them. They'll figure it out. They'll tell me what to do. They can make it better. So that's what a safe refuge is. A secure base is someone who delights in the child growing up, exploring, trying new things. What usually happens in a lot of modern families is mom is typically safe refuge, dad is typically secure base. So think of dad on the playground. Let's try this new slide. Let's do this new thing. I'm gonna throw you up in the air. And mom's like, no, my baby. And dad's like, no, look, isn't this fun? It's showing the baby new things, and when the baby delights in something new, it's being excited about it. That's why moms don't want their babies to go to college, and dads are like, get out there, son, and get a job. Like, that's good. Kid needs both. If you don't have both, you typically will find it somewhere else. So the good news is the bad news is there's a lot of broken families, or maybe families where the parents aren't able to provide both. But the good news is that humans are really resilient and they will find it. So if they don't have a safe refuge or secure base at home, they might find it in a coach. They might find it in a youth minister. They might find it in an adopted mom. They might find it in a friend, in an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent. They're gonna figure it out. Which person can I go to and show this thing to and receive a safe response? By safe response, I mean an emotionally attuned and sensitive response. In attachment, that's what we mean by a safe response. We mean someone who sees it, acknowledges it, and can help you regulate it. So it's not safe if you go to someone. Let's say a lot of coaches are not great safe refuges. Put that out there. Not because, I hit my knee, I'll put some beer on it and get back out there. Not a safe response. That's great for secure base. You know, okay, sometimes in life I got to be tough and I got to go out there anyway. But that kid needs someone to say, oh, you poor thing, you scraped your knee, right? So they're going to go find somebody. It's going to be grandma, it's going to be mom, it's going to be, you know, aunt, uncle, teacher, whatever. They're going to say, I got a boo-boo. And they'll find somebody who'll say, you poor thing, I'm so sorry. So everyone needs this growing up. We need this as adults. So fun fact, we never outgrow this need. For most of us, it becomes our spouse, because the majority of Americans do get married or have an intimate relationship, and that becomes our safe refuge and secure base. For other societies, and historically in the past, the kind of negative here, the bad news, is that we used to have a lot more of that. You used to be much more in touch with your neighbors, much more in touch with community. You would hang out with people. You wouldn't just get up in the morning, get in your car, drive down to the driveway, go to work, come back, stay in your car, get back into the house, not talk to anyone. Back then, I mean, you'd talk to your neighbors. You'd like chat at the fence. You would go to neighborhood things. You would go to your friends' houses because you didn't have this for entertainment, so you had to seek out people. So that way you could find those secure bases and the safe refuges that you needed. Nowadays, a lot of the pressure is on our spouse. So that is something to keep in mind, that if you're not getting that from a spouse as a grown-up, you know, as a parent, we do need extra help and support from people. If you're not getting it from a spouse, feel free to look elsewhere. I'm not talking about for intimacy. I'm talking about for someone to say, oh, you poor thing. Oh, that's so hard. Oh, I know this is really tough. Like, if you're not getting that from hubby, if you're not getting that from wifey, it's okay to go to a friend who just knows what you're going through and get a little support. There's no shame in needing it. Also, if you need someone to support your growth, like if your hubby or your wife is not into you trying something new, is not into you exploring new things, that's okay. Maybe that's not their thing. Maybe they're not very good at it. It's good to talk to them about it, that you have that need, but you can go elsewhere to talk to someone about, what if I tried this new thing? Do you think that would be a good idea? Does that make sense? All right. For our kids, so that was for people here who maybe don't have kids or just want to learn more about themselves as a parent. Now let's talk about little babies. Little babies have really high attachment needs. Grown-ups don't have as much. We can regulate a lot for ourselves. Little babies have such high attachment needs. How do you become a safe refuge and secure base for your baby? It's about giving enough safe responses. Those are emotionally and attuned and sensitive responses. What does that mean? And don't freak out, because a lot of parents are like, oh no, that means I have to be emotionally sensitive all the time. Actually, research shows, there's a study that showed that in parent-child pairings that were secure, the moms were only emotionally attuned like 30% of the time. So if you can do it like 30% of the time, you're probably okay. As long as you're not like abusive the rest of the time. Which we can talk about that later if you have a question. But so for little babies, what we're looking at from 0 to 2, really high attachment needs. What I would recommend you looking at it as is this: every time this baby cries, it's that primal part of the brain back here saying, I need help, and if I don't get help, I'm going to die. That's how it works. And it even works like that in grown-ups. We can talk about that later, but that's why people freak out if hubby or wifey did not give the right response the first time. It's the back part of the brain freaking out, thinking that I'm going to die. And so what that looks like in little kids is, if you are not emotionally sensitive the first time that kid needs something, the volume is going to increase. It could be real volume or metaphorical volume of, it doesn't have to be like loud voice. It could be just mom, 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 mom. So that's what I want you to conceptually think of it as, is this child. Yes, little kids are selfish. Yes, little kids haven't learned to think about other people yet. That is developmentally appropriate. Little babies should not be thinking about your rest or how you feel. They cannot do it. it's developmentally inappropriate for them to take care of you. From 0 to 2, what you're looking at is someone who doesn't know anything. They don't know how to regulate their emotions yet. They are looking to you to help them regulate their emotions. The only thing they have at the very start is crying. That's how they tell you, I need help. The help that you can provide in many cases is, this is what's happening to you. I see you. I hear you. I'm here. And then some kind of practical help is what they're looking for, what that back part is looking for. So the script here for parents to not get overwhelmed with all the crying is to try all the things. Have you guys heard, with a baby, go through the steps and see if the crying stops. So feed them, change a diaper, check if they're hot, check if they're cold. Check if, sometimes I do a little scratch all around the body if they're itchy somewhere. Try the script, go through the things. If they're still crying, consider maybe sickness, just having a cranky day. Just like grown-ups, kids just have bad days. So if they're just cranky that day, there may be nothing you can do to stop the crying, but you being there, being that safe refuge, teaches them, all right, I don't feel good, but it's okay, because this person's here. Does that make sense? That's really all that back part is looking for, is I'm not alone. For 2 to 5, I know we have some 2 to 5s, there's, they start learning a little bit more of what to do when this emotion happens. So they fall down, they start learning, I can go to mom and dad. I will go to mom and dad. And I will get my hugs and kisses and my, oh, you poor baby, and I will be on my way. The hard part here for a lot of parents is temper tantrums, because we are looking at the development of a will. So that's what we call the terrible 2s and 3s. So what it is the wonderful delight of discovering that you're not a doll anymore for someone to do whatever they want with. You can say no. Like, I want you to do this. No, I don't want to do that. It's time to do this. No, I don't want to do that. That's freedom. That's amazing for a little kid. But they practice it with everything, even with things that are not good for them. So here, it's important to let them develop a will. At this point, they need a little bit more choice with their lives, but they still cannot take care of you. It is developmentally inappropriate to expect gratitude in the deep way that we're talking about. Like, they might say, remember to say thank you for your donut. It's important to teach them rote behaviors that will eventually turn into understanding. Like, when they get a little older, they start to, especially at the age of reason, which is around 7, they will start to realize, my parents teach me these behaviors because, so I say thank you because someone did something nice for me and I'm showing appreciation. But that's not going to happen 2 to 5. What happens 2 to 5 is we teach them many rote behaviors. We teach them through repetition. And you can choose. If they're having a temper tantrum or they're having a really big emotion, what I like to say is you have a choice between intimacy and good behavior. You sometimes can have both. Sometimes the child will listen to your attuned response. Oh, you're really angry because Susie took your toy. You feel really sad that Susie took your toy. Let's go talk to Susie and ask for it back. And if it works, then child learns, oh, there's something I can do. I have someone to help me with this. And you get to maintain intimacy, which what I mean by that is the child will come to you next time for help because they've learned that you're a safe person. And you get maybe good behavior that the child learns, this is what I do when someone takes my toy. Sometimes you cannot have both. Sometimes you cannot have both for various reasons. The biggest reason is there are some behaviors that our children do that make us go up a wall and want to kill something. Like, there's certain sounds that my kids make, this particular whiny sound that I just cannot tolerate very well. I will lose my temper every time if I try to be emotionally attuned. Oh, you're so sad. You're so mad. Yeah, could you stop making that sound? I can't do it. So in that case, I don't choose intimacy. I will not be a safe person for that kid when they're making that sound. I just can't do it. So I choose instead good behavior. What that means is I will punish the behavior that I do not want because I know in the long run it is going to damage this relationship. If I continue to let them make that sound, I'm going to yell at them, or I'm just going to run out of the room and cause some really big confusion. So what I do instead is we don't make that sound. So if the kid falls and they're legitimately hurt, it sounds really callous, but there's certain things I know I cannot tolerate. So let's say the kid falls and they start making a kind of whining sound. I'm like, nope, we do not make that sound. If you need help, make another sound. Or if you need help, say something. That's what I say to my kid, because I cannot tolerate that without losing my temper. Now, my husband can. So they've learned when they fall in front of mom and they want help, but by the older level. So I'm not talking 2 to 5. They start learning this about probably 6 to 9. If I make that sound, I'm not going to get a good response from mom. I'm going to, I either make that sound in front of other people, like they'll do it in front of grandma, and grandma will be like, oh, you poor baby. So they either do it in front of grandma or they pick a different sound, right? They say, Mom, I need help. Or they even, I'm okay with even with yelling, just not this very high-pitched screech thing that 2 of them have done. You go to the script. It's not going to work the first many times because they're 2 to 5. They're not using logic. They're just going to automatically do the thing that happens when they feel that feeling. So if it's like, let's say a high-pitched yell when they fall, or if someone takes their toy, it's like a scream or a screech or a bite, it's a behavior you do not want, and you cannot stay emotionally attuned when you see it. Another one for me is bullying. If my kids are bullying each other, I see red. I cannot. So I automatically separate, even if they're 2 to 5, I automatically separate. I'll physically pick up the toddler, I'll tell the big kid to leave. I'll cool down, and then I come in and do my script. Have a script ready, is what I'm saying. So if the 2-year-old starts screaming, 3-year-old, they're not at the place where explaining something to them is going to change the behavior next time. Yeah, my 3-year-old throw out like, why were you mean to mommy? Oh, it's because I didn't get enough sleep last night, or Santa came in through my window yesterday and made me mad. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So if you cannot tolerate the behavior, choose good behavior, not intimacy. It's okay if they don't come to you for everything. They will find someone else. With a 2 to 5-year-old, go to the script. We do not do that in this house. I'm giving you examples of scripts. We do not do that in this house. In our house, we don't scream for help. We ask politely. Or, oh, you can even go with, honey, please don't make that sound. Mommy can't handle that sound. You can be honest. It's okay for kids to know that you are human and you can't handle everything, but do not expect them to take care of you. So the 2 to 5-year-old is still going to make that howling screech, or still going to bite, or whatever, the first few times. That's where we put in punishments. Now, I'm not talking like good old-fashioned corporal punishment. I mean, that's your own idea of, that's a whole other conversation of what kind of punishment you want to use. The behavioral principle is that if you punish the behavior, it will diminish over time. With 2 to 5-year-olds, you need the punishment to be immediate. It needs to be related to the behavior. It can't be just, oh, you bit your sister, you can't have dessert after dinner. They don't make any kind of connection with that. First of all, it's too far removed. So what typically works, I think, for 2 to 5-year-olds is a good old punishment, distraction. So for really small kids, my punishment is just a 10-second, I hold their hands together. It doesn't even have to be brutally hard. It's just you hold it so they lose freedom of movement for 10 seconds. I've noticed most kids under 3 just hate that. And then quickly redirect their attention, because they're not going to be like, oh, I just got my freedom taken away for biting. I shouldn't do that anymore. Like, they're not going to do that. They're going to be like, I'm so mad I want to bite somebody. Like, it's going to happen again. So you say, no, we don't bite. You can, for little kids, keep the script small. No biting. No bite, no hit. You don't have to yell. Do it calmly and gently because you don't want to scare the child, because then you're not a safe person. If you lose your temper every now and again, you only have to get it right 30% of the time. So, but hold their hands for like 10. Yeah. So you just hold it 10% of the time. That's, I think, a thing on social media right now, is this pressure to be, I don't know, not human most of the time. But anyway, you can just hold their hands together, count to 10. Out loud, you can count to 10. And then what I would do is very quickly redirect them to something else. So let's go play blocks. Let's go play ball. Let's go do this thing. And a lot of parents are like, well, I don't want to reward their bad behavior with playtime with mommy. That's not what you're doing, because in their head, it's already removed. It's not like, oh, I bite, I get playtime with mommy, unless you never play with them any other time. If that's the only time you play with them, you're going to get a lot of biting. But that's why we're going to talk about being a playful parent too. But if you redirect, what it does for them actually is helps them move on from that anger to something else, or whatever made them bite in the first place. You're helping them move on to another emotion. Does that make sense? We're getting to the end of our time, so I'm going to say a little bit about adults, teenagers and adults, bigger kids. Around the age of 7, you start, we call it the age of reason for a reason. Like the church figured this out a couple millennia ago, but psychologists have come to the same conclusion. There's something about the age of 7 where cognitively you develop to more of a cause and effect, making decisions from a place of reason type of mindset. So you're not going to go off of just what is going to not get me punished. So little babies to about 6, a lot of their decision-making skills is, I shouldn't do that, mommy will yell at me. Or, and I'm not talking about 0 to 4. You're not going to get that kind of reasoning. They mostly act on impulse. So I'm mad, I'm going to bite. You can explain why biting is bad, but it's not going to click for decision-making until later. But explaining it will help them eventually put the pieces together. So no bite, we don't bite, that hurts Susie. You've hurt Susie. They're not going to get that at the beginning. But at 7, around 6 or 7, maybe even 5 for some kids, they'll be like, oh, when someone bites me, that really hurts. I am hurting Susie when I bite her. Like, they'll click. Something will click. Empathy starts kind of clicking around, I would say around 6 to 9. You're going to get when someone does this to me, this is what I feel. What if that's what this other person is feeling? But don't expect them to do it for you. Developmentally, they are not there to take care of you. If they do bite you, you can say, that really hurt, mommy. But they're not going to be like, I got to take care of mommy. Mommy's my mommy, and she's really important. I should not bite her. You're not going to get that until, you might get that at 6 or 7. Anyway, around 7, you can start expecting them to actually make decisions based on reason. So at this point, explanation can be helpful. So if, Jack hits Susie at 7, you still usually punish, because still bigs benefit from an immediate consequence. So separation is typically what I do, or a timeout. They don't get to play what they want to play for however many minutes you decide. What I usually do is their age by half. My husband likes to do their age by double, so depends on, but I honestly don't have time for that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and monitor you for 18 minutes while I have stuff to do. So you can take your 4 minutes and then go play. But they do benefit from that immediate, but then an explanation is helpful for the next time. So you can say something like, hey, has anyone ever bitten you before? Yeah, I did it the other day. Well, how did it feel? It really hurt. Well, how do you think you made Susie feel when you bopped her across the face or whatever? They can start making those connections. At around 8 or 9, you can start relying upon that, but I would still use some incentives and punishments for behavior. Prepubescent, you are looking at, so Bigs start to peer orient. What that means is they start treating their peers as more important than their parents for decision making. So they want to do what their friends are doing, right? In prepubescent, that becomes even more. Like, they are not looking to you for guidance as much. They are looking to their peers. Like, I want to do what Susie's doing. I want to do what Johnny's doing. And that's good. Yeah.
What age is that again?
Prepubescent for me is about 9 to 13. It's kind of weird nowadays because it used to be solidly past 11, but kids are hitting puberty earlier and earlier, which means they're hitting some of those emotional changes as well. But it's complicated because they will still exhibit a lot of the little kid behavior. Anyway, they start looking to peers. Teenagers and grown-ups straight up don't look to their parents usually for guidance. They can come to them for some guidance. If you've built up a lot of intimacy, they will come for guidance. But they typically do not make a lot of their decisions based on what mom and dad say, adopted or not. They will typically look to peer groups or their spouse or outside, but they always still need safe refuge, safe haven. So if spouse or friend or whatever is not providing that, they will go to adopted mom or dad. Does that make sense? Even adult children need safe refuge, secure base. So if they're not finding that in their peer group, they can come back to mom and dad. And if you are emotionally attuned, then you can still have that intimacy with them.